Hello and welcome to using Google Forms for parent-teacher conference signups. What you're looking at on the screen is a finished mock sign-up sheet that I created in Forms, and this is what the parents would receive if you decided to do your conference signups this way. There are a couple of different ways that you can share this form with parents. You can email it to them, get the shareable link and email it out to them, making sure that you have selected for people out of RHNet to be able to view the document, the form. And also you can embed the form on your website. So those are two choices. What it would look like from your point of view, the teacher's point of view, is on the screen. So this is where I created my form and entered in, that's the responses. There are the questions. This is the screen that I can edit my form. And then here is a tab that allows me to view in a spreadsheet any responses that were submitted by parents who filled out the form that was mailed out. So that's kind of the end of where we're going to go. This is the completed form. So I'm just going to close out all of my tabs and start at the beginning to show you how I created all of this. So the first thing you're going to do is go to Google Forms. So I'm going to go into my Drive and launch Forms from there. So I'm in my Drive. I just went to Apps up here and then launched Drive. So I've got to wait for it to load up. And then I'm going to go to New in a moment. As soon as it loads, there we go. And I'm going to go to More and then Google Forms. And here's a blank form where I can begin. So I'm just going to enter in my title here. I'm going to call it Parent Teacher Conference Sign Up. This is and then in my description, I'm going to give some instructions for the parents. You can obviously enter whatever you would like. Okay, I'm not going to bother to write the rest of it out because you saw it at the beginning of the screencast. Now this is where I can start filling in and creating some of the questions that the parents need to give me information for. So where it says untitled question, I obviously want to know two things I need to know for my conference are who the student is and which parent or parents are coming in for a conference. And you do want to leave a space or create a space for a parent to put their information in to identify themselves because you obviously want to know if the child goes between two families, which adult or adults are coming. So the first thing I'm going to ask for is the student's name. So I know which student is the conference is for. And I'm going to not keep this as multiple choice. I want this as a short answer because they're only going to be filling that in. One response. And I'm going to make this a required question. In other words, they have to fill out this question. So I'm making that a required response. Then I'm going to come here to the plus sign and I'm going to add a question. And the next thing I want to know is the parent's name. And I'm going to change this to short answer. So obviously you can, for each question, you can decide what type of answers you want them to choose from. And short answer just works best for this scenario. And again, I want this to be a required answer. So if you'll notice, when I did required, it put an asterisk here, which indicates to the people filling out the form that these questions have to be filled out to submit the response. So I've got my student's name, the parent who's coming in to conference about that student, both short answer, both required. I'm going to move on and add another question, and this is where I'm going to set up and enter the times that my parents have to choose from. Now you can do this with a couple of different scenarios in mind. If you just wanted to use Google Forms for your parent-teacher conference signups and not use any other method, you would obviously put all of your times in and then ask your parents to fill it out electronically. However, the reality is that some parents will use this form and some will not. So you can, if, for example, you at parent orientation night, when you have parents come in and they're moving through the schedule for their child, and you normally set out a paper copy, a hard copy of parent-teacher conference sign-up times, you can have them do that, and then you're obviously going to have parents who don't show up. And then what you can do is create this form for anyone who didn't come and only put the times on that weren't selected on your hard copy from your parent information night. So what I'm saying is this is all flexible. You can put out whatever times are available and then release the form out electronically. So just as an example, I'm going to type in, please select a time for your child's parent-teacher conference. And I'm going to leave this as multiple choice because I'm going to put in all of the times that I have available for parents to choose from. And I am going to make this a required question. So in other words, they have to pick a time before they submit the form. So in option 1, I'm just going to put in my first time. So let's just say as an example, so I would type that in. And I would just continue clicking on add option, and then I could write down as many dates and times, usually following this format that I used in the first one, to keep adding dates and times as options for parents to choose from. So I'm just going to add a couple in here just to show you. So again, I'm going to add option, and it's just stacking them here in order. Let's say that I'm releasing this with the idea that I already had some parents come in at parent orientation, and I had some parents write on my hard copy form that I printed out and I had up in my classroom, and they filled it out. And let's say maybe I had, out of, let's say 18 kids that were in my class, let's say half of the parents came and half of them signed up for conferences. So I've got 9 time slots already taken. So let's say that on my hard copy, somebody took the 10 to 10:20 spot. I would just leave that off of this digital form. So instead of going 10 to 10:20, I'm going to write 10:30 to 10:50. And then it doesn't overlap. There won't be any overlap with a time that a parent already signed up for if they came to parent orientation. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So I think you get the idea there. You could just keep doing add option and add all of your times in. And again, remembering that you're going to make this a required response. Then I'm going to add another question to give parents an option to leave any comments if they would like to. So please enter any comments or questions below. Okay, and then I'm going to make a short answer. I'm sorry, not a short answer. I'm going to leave this as a paragraph in case they have a lot to say. Probably not, but just in case. And then I am not going to make this required because this is optional. So they might not have anything to say. I'm not going to require them to fill this question out. But every other question, if you'll notice, has a red asterisk, which means there's one here, and here, which means that they have to fill those sections of the form out. to submit. So that's it. That's my form. It's that quick and simple. So at this point, I want to make sure that if I have multiple dates and times that parents can pick, I want to make sure that parents don't sign up for the same date and time. You can set up your form to automatically eliminate the choices. So one thing you need you need an extension called Choice Eliminator, and you have to add that. If you don't add Choice Eliminator, you're going to have problems. So make sure that you do it. I already have it in my add-ons. I have it in Choice Eliminator 2. I also installed Choice Eliminator Lite, but after reading the reviews, I like the options for Choice Eliminator 2 better. So I would personally go with Choice Eliminator 2. They both pretty much do the same thing, but you have more options with Choice Eliminator 2, and that's the one that you really want to go with. So once you have that installed, you would click on Choice Eliminator 2 and you would configure it. So it's basically applying that to the form you just created, and you know that because another box pops up on the right. So here's where you have to do some things to activate the Choice Eliminator for your form. So you first have to click on the question title to enable or disable elimination. Well, the only question that I have that this would apply to is this one. So I'm going to highlight. If you'll notice, the blue bar is highlighting this particular question, and I want it to do choice elimination for this question. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to select, and then I'm going to say eliminate choices. So now what it's doing, it's applying this feature to this question. So now it knows that if somebody gets this form and chooses one of these dates and times, it will remove that date and time from the form that anybody else is viewing. So it literally takes that choice off. It's not even an option for anyone else to click on, but you have to do this step to make sure that that happens. So now that I have that done, I've activated my choice eliminator. Now I'm actually ready to send out my form. So if I want to send it, I click on send, and it pops open the box where I can send it via email. So I'd have to just actually type in the parents' email addresses, or I could get a shareable link. I think personally this is the best option because you can copy the link, and I would do a shortened URL. So if you notice, there's not as much there for them, and you can just copy this link and then paste it into an email and send it out. Or another option, which you can do instead of or in addition to the email, is embedding this form onto your website as a link for parents to click on and sign up that way. So those are your sharing options. Just make sure that you have it on your options, you have it enabled so that, I think it's in your settings. It is. See, right now it says restrict to our HCSD app users. That means only people in our district can view this form. You want to uncheck that box. That means that no matter who gets the form, whether they're in district or not, will be able to see it and to fill it out. So you want to make sure you uncheck that box. It's very important. So we're going to save that option. Okay, so it's saving that setting that we just told it to open it up to anyone who gets it. And now the form is, let's just say I emailed it out, and now people can start making their selections, parents can, and then it will start sharing out with me the responses. So I can view my responses here. And obviously I didn't actually send it out with anyone, to anyone rather, so I have nothing to show here. Although at the beginning of the screencast, I did show you an example of one where I actually went through the whole process. So just rewind back to the beginning if you want to see that again. And then if you want to see it in sheets, where it puts it in a spreadsheet, you would click this green button and it would bring you to the sheet. And again, this is empty because I literally just filled out the form and no one has filled anything out. So again, go back to the beginning of the screencast and you'll see what it looks like from a whole perspective of I sent it out, somebody filled it in, and then I was able to look at the responses. One little thing I forgot, you'll notice it says untitled form. I shouldn't have done that. I should have clicked here, and you notice it picked up at the very beginning my first question, and that's a good title. So you obviously want to name your file. So do that just to make sure that you can find it again when you search in your Drive or in Forms. So that is, I think, in my opinion, a very helpful tool. The form is to have parents sign up electronically, and it streamlines the process and hopefully saves you a little bit of time and makes you do a little less work, which frees you up to do something else. So if you have any questions, please email me or stop down and see me, and I'm hoping that you find this useful. Thanks for listening.